Onyx 1-2 Mike Oscar, runway 27, clear for takeoff.
Hello and welcome to the Calm Cockpit podcast. This is your Monday briefing, your short reset for pilot well-being and high performance. This mini episode is designed just to fit into your real life to give a good start to your week because pilots, you are already disciplined. And what sometimes we need is not more effort, but just little reminders, like little small nudges that help us stay steady and focused and aligned with how we really want to show up in the cockpit and in our lives. So each one of these Monday briefs covers one simple yet really practical idea you can start applying immediately. Something that supports your performance without adding friction, or especially without adding more to your already very full to-do list. So let's get started. Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm Geeta Brown, midlife student pilot, yoga and meditation educator, and music educator with more than 30 years now of experience of teaching high performers how to improve their lives, improve their performance, but without adding stress. My co-host John Niehaus is off doing his piloty things today, so I'm flying solo for this episode, and I really wanted to dial into something that we've sprinkled throughout, I think at least 3, 4, or 5 episodes thus far, and that is talking about how to maintain consistent energy throughout the day, specifically really looking at brain fog, that mid-afternoon slump that we can get, and that general fatigue that doesn't seem to go away even when we are well rested. And a key way to manage this is really simple. It's hydration. But I'm not going to talk about just drinking more water. I really wanted to spend a little time to break down the foundational way that your body handles fluid regulation. That includes what you eat and what you drink, how it works exactly, literally how the hydration gets from what you eat into the cells, and then really build on that to give you simple strategies that you can put into play this week and experiment with that can really nudge your body and mind to a more stable and energetic place. The main things we're going to talk about, we're going to always start big picture with me. For all my students, I like to start really, really big picture, like why does hydration matter? We're going to also talk about the role of electrolytes. What are they exactly? These electrolytes that people talk about. Then we're going to touch briefly on micronutrients and really get into how those function in the body as well for that stable energy state. And then, of course, at the very end, I'm going to give really specific food and hydration strategies that you can use throughout your day. Again, so you're not adding another big task, but you're adding simple habits in. Little brief side note here. This is all just coming from my own experience as a therapeutic yoga instructor, from a music educator who helps performers get on stage. And yes, that includes being on stage when it is roastingly hot outside and you play 3 shows a day and you've got to stay hydrated. And then also from my own science nerd obsession with the body, how it works, and how to always find things that are going to help me feel better with doing a minimal amount of effort. So this is all just from some of my technical expertise, but I am not a nutritionist. I'm not a hydration specialist. So take all this information in as sort of entertainment, good thoughts to be thinking. I'm going to include all of the research down in the show notes so you can check it all out for yourself. And as always, consult your own doctor and your own intelligence. This is just to get you thinking about things in a new way. Okay, with that caveat in place, why does hydration matter? Think about for a moment that to your body and mind, there is no separation between your body and your mind. Those are just distinctions we make in our language so that we can tell people how our minds are doing versus how our body is doing. But the brain is not a separate entity. It is a physical organism that is fueled by your physical intake. This means that your cognitive performance, your decision-making speed, your emotional regulation, and just your general ability to have a happiness quotient are direct outputs of the physiological state that your brain is in. And a lot of it comes down to you are what you eat. Maintaining proper hydration is crucial. 75% of the brain mass is water, and even slight dehydration can slow our cognitive processing. Womp, womp, womp. The other cool thing is that your brain cannot store water. It can't store water like some of the other cells in the body can. We have to replenish that store. It's up to us. Let's take care of our brains. We only have one. There was one study that examined the impact of hydration and visual sustained attention. And they found that the groups that consumed the most water performed best on the visual attention test, whereas those in the no water group performed the worst. There's also another study done that showed that short-term memory improved after fluid consumption. More research is really needed for like the reaction time stuff, but there was a really cool research project done by the Frontiers of Human Neuroscience. And they noted differences in reaction times between individuals who were thirsty and those who are not thirsty. So the non-thirsty individuals, i.e. well hydrated, showed a really robust performance with their faster reaction time than the folks who had less hydration. One last little one for you here. There's a journal called Appetite, and they did a study that showed that individuals reported feeling calmer and more alert after consuming water. There's been numerous other studies that have verified those results. And also, researchers have found that tension, depression, and confusion scores decrease as water increases. So the more water, the less tension, the less depression, and the less confusion. Also, if people have low water levels, they tend to have worse moods, they tend to have headaches, confusion, and tiredness. So I just wanted to bring these research studies into the mix here in this Monday morning briefing because we have like the performance outcome side where they're measuring cognitive performance, reaction time, and then you have the subjective side, which is mood and how people feel. And both of those were really helped to a more positive outcome by just simply being better hydrated. And if you consider that dehydration will affect the flow of oxygen to the brain and causes the heart to work harder to pump oxygen to the organs, it makes sense that being underhydrated can make us feel really groggy and low energy. But there's a little caveat here, and this is where it's not just about guzzling more water. We really need a proper balance of electrolytes and micronutrients to support the mitochondria. Mitochondria are organelles that are in our cells that help produce most of the power that our cells need for not only cellular function, but also for those really big things like moving our muscles. So we need a little more to nudge our fluid consumption to actually being useful. Effective hydration is not just a measure of how much fluid you can dump into your system. It's about how much more can get from your stomach to your small intestine and from your small intestine into the blood and then therefore into the tissues and the cells. So what we actually really are talking about here is the maintenance of your plasma volume. Who knew we were going to be talking about plasma volume here? Plasma volume is just the liquid component of your blood. And that's what we need to transport the nutrients and the blood cells throughout your body. So you want to have that really nice, thin, free-flowing blood that is replete with fluid. You don't want it thick and viscous because then everything has to work harder. So really simply said, when you drink water, it goes from the stomach to the small intestine. When it moves into the small intestine, it needs a little bit of sodium and glucose to help pull that fluid into the bloodstream. I don't know if you remember osmosis from maybe high school biology, but electrolytes have a natural positive and negative electrical charge when dissolved in water. And so they help that osmosis by moving water across the cell membrane to areas with higher mineral concentrations. I mean, my gosh, you don't need to know this to this level of detail, but just know that when you add a little sodium and a little glucose into the water, what's happening is it's helping that water then to go from just sitting in your gut, and it's helping it to move through the cell membrane and actually get into the plasma and actually get into the cells. I don't know if you've ever chugged a bunch of water and then you've gone for a jog or something and felt the water sloshing around your belly. Yeah, that is the water not actually going to the small intestine and then being absorbed appropriately. So we need that osmosis regulation that the electrolytes produce to get the water from the gut into your tissues. Sodium is good. Sodium and glucose together is like the powerhouse because the small intestine has small special transporters that help move sodium and glucose together into the bloodstream. And when those two move together, the water follows. I'm going to give you a little recipe at the end that will get the really nice amount of sodium and glucose into your water without it changing the flavor so that that water can do its job and hydrate you. So let's move on to micronutrients. Micronutrients, think of your vitamins and your minerals. Vitamins A, B, C, D, E, and the minerals iron, iodine, zinc, calcium, etc. Why I'm including this in a discussion is because our body is not only going to be hydrated by the fluids we consume, but also the food that we eat. Vegetables and fruits. I'm looking at you, John Niehaus, my co-host, who doesn't love his veggies all that much. That's okay. That's totally okay. As long as you get some in your diet. These contain a nice amount of water that the body knows how to naturally move into the cells. And these micronutrients can also really help regulate our mood and energy levels as well. There is a very strong biological and physiological rationale that indicates that vitamins and minerals produce this cellular energy production that gives us both that functional outcome of being able to do the things and the psychological feeling of feeling good to do the things. So psychological and cognitive function absolutely depends on us getting these micronutrients. You are what you eat. We have plenty of review studies that show us that the micronutrients, when given in adequate amounts across a long period of time, contribute to cognitive functioning, reducing that fatigue level, and enhanced overall well-being. Kids, eat your fruits and veggies and be hydrated, and then also get those micronutrients that help sustain the energy and get the water and hydration you need so that your brain and blood and tissues are functioning well. So how to put all this together? That was like a turbo view through all of that. There's been a wave on the internet showing people drinking a gallon of water every day, which is, like twice the recommended thing, which is now 8-ounce glasses. Neither one of those have any scientific research that I can find to show that those numbers are important. Ultimately, any specific recommendation about how much water you need to be drinking is really up to you. You have to look at your age. There are sex differences between men and women. How fit are you? How much fitness are you doing? Where are you living? Is it hot? Is it cold? Generally, if your urine is kind of like pale or like light straw colored in the morning, you're off to a good start. And throughout the day, if you eat watery fruits and watery vegetables, you drink water, you maybe have tea, you have some electrolyte drinks, which I'm going to tell you about in a moment, this can all really help. A recipe that I found that's really helpful is to, first thing in the morning, drink a nice bolus of water. For me, I've been drinking 16 ounces. That seems to be my sweet spot. That's been a lot of experimentation. And following the recommendation of Dr. Stacy Sims, who I will link below, she recommends a little dash of salt and a teaspoon of maple syrup into the water, mixing that well and then drinking it. You can't even taste the maple syrup. You can't even taste the salt, but it contains that adequate amount of sodium and then also sucrose and glucose, which help the water to get into the cells. So you're not just going to down all that water and then just release it all in a little bit. That has really, really helped me. It doesn't taste salty and it will be absorbed. First thing in the morning is a great way to kick things off. Another great time to do that is if you feel that mid-afternoon slump. And I've actually been finding for the mid-afternoon slump, what really works for me is an electrolyte solution. I personally love Paleo Valley Essential Electrolytes. Those work really well for me. I've also heard great things about LMNT. I haven't sampled them yet, but I will. Those are just more on the sodium side and less on the sucrose and glucose side. They have a really cool recipe on their website, though, if you want to make your own electrolyte solution. What a cool company, right? They're like, hey, you don't have to buy our stuff. You can make it on your own. Now, to the whole Gatorade thing, keep in mind that one 12-ounce bottle of Gatorade has 190 calories, most of it from sugar, which is the equivalent of eating a large bakery cookie or even a donut. For some of us, like myself, that would be the equivalent of about like a third to a half of the calories that I would eat in a meal just from a sugary drink. You don't need all that for hydration if you're just looking for daily level hydration. Now, if you're a high performance athlete, that's another thing. And I would argue that you don't need blue dye number 4, red number 1, or yellow number 5 in your diet either. You can eat fruits and veggies as well. Cantaloupe, apples, and bananas provide the brain with those micronutrients I was talking about. Same with roasted veggies and fresh salads, paired with a nice glass of water, can be a fantastic thing to hydrate. And a little pro tip is to really make sure that you have gotten any solids that you are eating to almost a liquid state before you swallow them, because your digestion starts in the mouth. Your saliva and the enzymes in your saliva will start to break down that food, so your digestion doesn't have to work as hard, which means that then more of those micronutrients and that water can get to the cells in a very clean and rapid pathway. Consider all that you drink throughout your day. Herbal tea, kombucha, coffee, tea. And just start looking at what you're doing. For myself, it really helped to track. I use an app called Water Llama. And I set my goal. I think I had a goal initially of 70 ounces of water a day. And then I tracked it, and I tracked for like a year till I got to the point where I could tell how my mood was shifting based on my hydration status. And now I don't need to track because I have the information. I can tell what's real fatigue versus literally I'm just dehydrated and I need a little electrolyte solution. I highly recommend tracking for a little while, see how it goes. So I think that's pretty much it. If I had to summarize this all up in a too long didn't read, eat whole foods, drink a variety of health-giving liquids, get some electrolytes in, especially if you have that mid-afternoon brain fog. Have 8 to 12 to 16 ounces of water with electrolyte solution. See how that works for you. And track and observe the results for yourself. When in doubt, drink water, eat fruits and veggies. What could be wrong with that? So I hope that helps you. Okay, before I wrap up, I want to give a little bit of exciting news. We've got a great upcoming interview next week, March 18th, with Liz Booker. She's a retired U.S. Coast Guard commander, helicopter pilot, and foreign diplomat. And she's built a whole community of readers and writers around stories featuring women in aviation. Look for that episode to drop on Wednesday, March 18th. That's going to be fantastic. One last little note, my friends. Thank you so much to the Midlife Pilot podcast. I was honored to be on their show, episode 169. Fantastic chat with Ben, Brian, and Ted. The work they do with their community about creating community around midlife pilots, the safety discussions, the honest discussions, the laughter, the community, all of it is super uplifting. And I feel like they are my people and they understand me, and I'm very grateful to them. So I highly recommend that you check out their podcast, the Midlife Pilot Podcast, linked below. All right, my friends, as I wrap this Monday briefing up, turns out our moms were right. Eat your fruits, eat your veggies, slow down and chew slowly, pay attention to how you feel. These little things really do matter. This work is important. And each choice you make to strategically fill your body with natural food, healthful beverages, will give you so much more than the effort it took to do those habits in the first place. It is worth every bit of effort. You'll get it back in energy and performance, I have no doubt. So, John and I are always here to support you in that efforts. And to roll this on out, I hope you have a fantastic week. I raise a glass of electrolyte water solution to you. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And myself and John look forward to seeing you in the next episode back in the calm cockpit. And until then, fly smarter and stress less.